Joining us now is David Sachs from the All In Podcast. David, I enjoyed hanging out with you this last weekend. David and I are trying to fulfill the mandate together. Is that fair to say, David? That was a really fun dinner, and we'll just leave it at that. We want to make sure that the warmongers and the neoconservatives remain where they belong, which is in the losing campaign of Kamala Harris. David, I want to take a victory lap with you first. How big is the Tulsi Gabbard appointment for Director of National Intelligence?
I think it's extremely important. It's extremely important for the country, and it's extremely important for our movement. If I had to identify one risk to the MAGA movement over the next 4 years, it would be that somehow the deep state or the swamp or the Washington blob maneuvers President Trump into another forever war, a war that we don't need. And that war would not only be very damaging to the country, but it would fracture our base, and it could destroy the MAGA movement and derail his domestic priorities. So, an unnecessary war is the last thing we need. And recall that it was bad intelligence that got us into the Iraq war in the first place. Remember that it was the CIA director, George Tenet, who told President George W. Bush that it was a slam dunk case that Saddam Hussein had W&D programs. And it was on that basis that the United States got into its most pointless and destructive forever war. So it's so important that the intelligence that is given to the president is correct. And I can't think of a better person to be in charge of that than Tulsi, because she has worn the uniform. She's a soldier. She knows what's involved. At the same time, she's had a skepticism towards these unnecessary foreign interventions. And so she has the right balance. I think she can make sure the intel is correct. And hopefully that will avoid this horrible type of risk that I'm talking about.
Without a doubt. And David, they're already smearing Tulsi as being a Russian asset. Where does this come from? I mean, it is a demonstrably false slur. It is the same as calling somebody a racist or a bigot. It's the national security equivalent of calling somebody a racist, is calling somebody a Russian asset. In politics, they'll say you are a racist. If you try to get into the national security space, you're a Russian asset. That slur perfectly shows why we need a teardown. David, even on the most generous reading, where the heck does this come from with Tulsi? Do they call her a Russian asset because she dares to critique the international rules-based neoliberal order that has been a failure the last 30 years?
Well, it comes from the exact same source that the exact same smear came from about President Trump. Remember, they said that he was an agent of Vladimir Putin for years. I mean, this was the whole Russiagate hoax. Where did the Russiagate hoax come from? It came from the Hillary Clinton campaign. Who started the smear that Tulsi was a Russian agent? Hillary Clinton. She just asserted it on cable news one day without any evidence. And since then, it's just been repeated, again, without any evidence whatsoever. I think it's even worse than calling somebody racist, as horrible as that is, because, as bad as it is to engage in racism, that's not actually a crime. Whereas being a traitor to your country is actually a crime. It's a potential death penalty offense. So this is possibly the worst type of smear that they could ever make towards somebody, especially somebody who proudly wears the uniform of the USA. I think the good news is that the people of the United States have now seen through this type of slander. Obviously, they saw through with respect to President Trump. And I think President Trump's election shows that the mainstream media, or I should say the legacy media, no longer has any credibility when it makes these types of assertions. And in a sense, President Trump has short-circuited their slander machine.
So let's play some of the tape here. This is Tom Nichols, who is obviously on payroll from the Central Intelligence Agency. There's a remarkable lie. Let's play cut 407.
Every federal employee every year has to sit through insider threat training to recognize people they think might be hazards around classified material. And part of that is, people who are deeply critical of the United States and its foreign policy, who seem to have a lot of affinity and meetings with foreign nationals. I mean, there's all kinds of alarm bells that go off here. And this nomination sets them all off.
Whoa, hold on. If you're critical of America, red flag. Did he say that if you're critical of our foreign policy decisions, David Sachs? Did you hear that? That was a very interesting tell, that if you have a difference of opinion on whether or not we send money to Ukraine and we invade Iraq, you're a national security threat? Did I hear that correctly?
Well, this is what they want to redefine treason as, is policy disagreements. If you don't agree with their agenda, somehow that's treason. No, I mean, that's engaging in a reasonable policy debate, which we absolutely need to have, especially with regard to foreign wars. Look, what these people are so upset about, Tulsi does not represent a threat to the United States. I think she's a great asset for the United States. What she represents a threat to is the Atlantic magazine's agenda, which is nonstop wars, endless and forever war. This is what the Atlantic magazine stands for. And they have made these same types of accusations towards President Trump. They bought into the whole Russiagate hook, line, and sinker. They're the ones who spread it, or some of the people who spread it. In fact, I think the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, was one of the main promoters of the whole Russiagate hoax. They've never come to grips with their complicity in that hoax. They've never acknowledged that they were wrong. They just move on to the next set of accusations. And These are the last people who should be believed about this sort of thing. They have no credibility left.
Yeah, it's just not just no credibility. I mean, like, they're the ones that are a hostile threat to the country the way they're talking.